Questions for Our Time by Peter Weisz. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Well, what does this slogan actually mean? Meet Marc Hill. Mr. Hill is a political activist and a former CNN correspondent. He's also a professor of media studies and urban education at Temple University. On November the 28th, 2018, Mr. Hill delivered a speech about Palestinian rights at the United Nations. In that speech, he used the well-known slogan, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." His words ignited a firestorm of controversy. CNN fired him, whereas Temple University supported him. Now, why would a slogan create such a strong reaction? Let's find out. The "From the River to the Sea" slogan has been used as a battle cry over the past decade by various anti-Israel groups and individuals. For example, it was shouted repeatedly at a recent Democratic Socialists of America conference. It is part of the Hamas Covenant, the mission statement of the terrorist organization that has ruled Gaza since 2007. Hamas leaders such as Hania and Masa'al use the slogan frequently in their public pronouncements when they call for the destruction of the Zionist entity, as they put it. It has been tweeted by celebrities such as Rihanna, the Washington Wizards' Dwight Howard, One Direction's Zayn Malik. Mr. Hill has defended his usage of that slogan in various ways. He has said, "This slogan dates back to the beginning of the 20th century. It is not particular to Hamas. It has been used by others." Well, unfortunately, there is no evidence to support this claim. It is possible that he was confused. He was mistakenly referring to the slogan used by the Irgun, the pre-state Israeli paramilitary organization whose slogan was "Forever Thus" on both sides of the Jordan. He's also said, the slogan means I support Israel's return to pre-1967 borders. We'll talk about that claim in just a moment. And he said, the slogan is about desiring freedom, justice, and self-determination for everyone. Really? Does it really? Well, let's have a look at what it actually means. First of all, what river and what sea? Well, here's a map. And this is the river, the Jordan River. And this is the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. And the area in question is this one. It is the area in between the river and the sea. And it's this area that Hamas and its supporters wish to see become the sovereign state of Palestine. This area currently contains the entire state of Israel, a nation made up of 8.5 million people, 20% of whom are Arabs. So the question arises, what would become of the millions of Jews living in this area should a Palestinian state come into being? Well, let's go right to the top and ask a Palestinian leader. On July the 30th, 2013, Mahmoud Abbas, the president for life, it appears, of the Palestinian Authority, declared the following. In a final resolution, we would not see the presence of a single Israeli, civilian or soldier, on our lands. That's pretty definitive. President Abbas has not recanted this statement and has in fact repeated it many times. He considers all Israelis to be Jews and all Jews to be Israelis. His position about Jews not being permitted to live in a future pluralistic state of Palestine is shared by most Palestinians. They believe that Palestine should become the 23rd Arab nation and, like the other 22, be devoid and rid of all Jews. So much for freedom, justice, and self-determination for everyone, Mr. Hill. So, where would they care to put these 6 million Jews once Palestine stretches from the river to the sea, as they advocate, and it has become free, as they put it. What becomes of the Jews? Well, to get an answer, we need only turn to history. When Nazi Germany was seeking a final solution to the problem of how to become free of 6 million Jews, they turned to an ally for advice. They turned to the Grand Mufti of Palestine, Haj Amin al-Husseini, who happened to be the second cousin of Yasser Arafat, and is regarded today as the father of the Palestinian nationalism movement. Here he is during the war, being hosted in Germany by Adolf Hitler. The Grand Mufti advised Hitler that there was only one way to become completely Judenfrei, or free of Jews, and that way is extermination. Here we see the Grand Mufti touring Nazi extermination camps with Heinrich Himmler. In the context of the slogan, Palestine will be free, free can only mean one thing: free of Jews. Now, Mr. Hill claimed that he is in favor of Israel returning to the pre-1967 borders. But that doesn't quite line up with the slogan, which states from the river to the sea. Well, which is it? Pre-67 or river to the sea? Let's take a look at the map again. He says it means I support Israel's return to the 67 borders, but it also means from the river to the sea. Well, these statements contradict one another. The pre-67 borders defines an indefensible state of Israel that still sat between the river and the sea. At one point, only 40 miles across from the sea to the Jordan-controlled border of the West Bank. As you can see, at the narrowest point, it was 40 miles across. But yet those 40 miles were still between the river and the sea. So this really doesn't make much sense. So the question remains, if the slogan does not mean a return to pre-67 borders, if it does not mean Jews and Arabs living side by side with peace and justice for all, then what does it mean? The answer may be summed up in a single word, and that word is replacement. The replacement in the area that runs from the river to the sea of the democratic Jewish state of Israel with an autocratic Islamic state of Palestine that is free of Jews, or as the Nazis like to say, Judenrein, or cleansed of Jews. Let's take a closer look at what is being replaced under such a genocidal policy. Well, for one thing, the replacement of a nation that grants full and equal rights to women in every aspect of government, every aspect of society. That would be replaced with a society in which women are regarded as property and chattel. What else? The replacement of a democratic nation that enfranchises all citizens, including Arabs, which grants Arabs more personal liberty than in any other Arab country. That country would be replaced by a nation that is currently being governed by a leader who is in the 14th year of his 4-year term of office. A completely undemocratic, autocratic dictatorship is what would replace a democratic nation. What else? Well, the replacement would be a replacement of a society that is tolerant and inclusive of its LGBT community. And that sort of society would be replaced by a culture that punishes homosexuality as a capital offense. This map shows Arab nations, including the Palestinian Authority-controlled areas, where gays are persecuted and subject to the death penalty. What else? Well, this replacement would substitute a nation that teaches its children to respect all people, regardless of race or religion, with a nation, a people, who instill hatred and murder of Jews into the hearts of their children, beginning at a very young and tender age. What else? It would involve the replacement of an ancient people who are able to trace their historic connection to this area back to the time of Abraham in the Bible. These people would be replaced by a people who are indistinguishable culturally from any of the world's 500 million Arabs, and who at no point in history ever held sovereignty in this area. This area between the river and the sea was ruled by Judeans, Persians, Assyrians, Greeks, Romans, Christians, Ottomans, British, and now Israelis, and assorted others over the centuries, but never people that are calling themselves today Palestinians or Arabs. We are talking about the replacement of a startup nation that is a world leader in technological innovation and whose citizens create a continuous stream of products and services intended for the betterment of mankind, giving eyesight to the blind, the capital of world innovation, replacing that with a people whose only notable technological innovation is the suicide bomber vest. We are talking about replacing a country that names its streets and its public buildings after brave heroes, statesmen, authors, peacemakers, replacing that type of country with a country that has a society naming its streets, sports arenas, and schools after terrorist murderers of innocent Jews, including children. Replacement means replacing a nation of 8.7 million people, only 8.7 million people, that has earned 9 non-peace Nobel Prizes since 1960. We're not talking about the Nobel Peace Prizes here. We're talking about the others. Israel has earned 9 of them in that time period. Here they are. Fields ranging from chemistry to economics to literature. And replacing that nation with one of the 22 Arab nations that have a total combined population equal to 50 times that of Israel. We're talking about 420 million people, that has earned in that same time period a total of 2 non-peace Nobel Prizes, in 88 and 99. And we are talking about the replacement of a country that sends emergency first responders bringing humanitarian aid to every country on earth whenever there's a natural or a man-made disaster. Replacing a country that does that with a country that, in all likelihood, will not do that. So bottom line, when Mr. Hill and his followers and supporters proclaim, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, they are calling for a program of genocide that will make the future Palestinian state free of Jews. And they are advocating the destruction of the Jewish state of Israel and its replacement with a nation that would fail to embrace or embody the values that Americans and Western civilization hold dear, such as democracy, liberty, tolerance, and justice. In response to this slogan, the pro-Israel community offers 3 letters and 2 words. The 3 letters, in response to any attempts to replace the Jewish people between the river and the sea, the 3 letters are IDF. And the 2 words, in response to making this area Judenfrei, are never again. Thank you for your attention.